there is a way to have these little fresh starts without giving up our responsibilities. So I had to really look at what that looked like, how practical it can be. Because the last thing that sometimes our systems need is to do more. And what we most often need is to do less. So really narrowing it, what are the things that I need to give my most attention to?
Hello, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, your reverse mortgage experts, and you found the Serving Seniors podcast, where we highlight those businesses and those individuals that help seniors not just get by, not just survive, but thrive in retirement. And today we have another one of those awesome people. We have Miss Barbara Gustavson, and she is a brain health coach. And she's going to share with us how that applies to seniors and what they can do when it comes to working on their brain. Barbara, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I've been looking forward to this conversation, Matt, and I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you for jumping on, and thank you for doing all you do for seniors. We really do appreciate it and look forward to sharing your story.
Absolutely. Well, I look at my journey, and if you were to tell me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if I would be in brain health, I would say, no way, you are crazy.
Okay.
But I, talk about, what to do and how often life changes for us. And we end up in a place where we don't feel like ourselves anymore. And so I was at that place about 15 years ago. I had been navigating an 18-year journey with my parents. Okay. And I was at the place where I was maxed out, burnout, and I did not feel like myself anymore. And I knew I had to make some changes. So I had to really navigate and figure out, how I can, support my family and also support myself. I was still raising my teen sons at the time. I was building my business that I absolutely love today. And so I had to really find another way to make it work. And the people I talk about, navigating transitions like retirement or loss, health changes or shifts and an identity even, it can really bring us to a place where things that used to excite us don't excite us anymore, or we're just not feeling that we're at a place where we can be our full self. So okay. I recognize through this process of my own journey and also through research and studying how the brain works and how we have these natural built-in regroup or resetting systems that we often ignore. And I had to really look at how I can regroup, how I can recharge in a way that doesn't just reset me for a few days, okay, but a way that is sustainable for me and the life I had. So I had to really look at this wasn't failure on my part. These were circumstances that were given to me, and I wanted to honor my parents. And when I was giving myself permission to slow down, even just a few minutes throughout the day, I noticed I had these energy boosts that I wasn't expecting. It was a great byproduct. I noticed I was more productive. I noticed my thoughts were starting to change. And I felt this heavy weight that I had been carrying start to lighten up. So I really talk to people about, we aren't given opportunities to do this complete life overhaul most of the time. Sometimes we need to make dramatic changes, but a lot of the time when we are in a season where we're honoring loved ones and we want to be present with them, there is a way to have these little fresh starts without giving up our responsibilities. So I had to really look at what that looked like, how practical it can be. Because the last thing that sometimes our systems need is to do more. And what we most often need is to do less. So really narrowing it, what are the things that I need to give my most attention to? What can I let go of? Even old thinking. And in my book, Regroup, it's a framework. Each of the letters stands for something, okay, and it's backed by science, and it's built to work with your brain versus against it. We often work against it just because we have the conditioning and upbringing that, we need to burn out, the midnight oil. We need to help everyone else. Not that I'm against helping people, but what we tend to do is we overdo it. We do things depleted. So how can we do things when we're at a place where we have more energy and we've taken care of ourselves? And so I've really shared this framework. It's backed by science, but I've also shared it in a way that you're learning from my mistakes, things that I did that didn't help, that led to burnout, and how you can kind of cut through some of those mistakes that I've made.
Wow.
One of the things that I've found myself, but a lot of people, it's almost a mindset shift, is we spend most of our time managing the time. But at some point, we realize it's really about managing our energy. And the very second letter E in regroup is about energy and how that is our fuel. And when we can really look at that's our most precious resource that we have, it tends to help everything else.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome. Now, and maybe give us a little bit more background. When was this and what happened to kind of get you to that place?
Oh, yeah. So how much time do you have?
Go ahead. It's all
Okay.
yours.
Yeah. So I think my turning point, and this was back in 2017, I remember clearly Thanksgiving Day at a restaurant. It was shortly after my mom passed, and we jumped right into um, just taking care of my dad, decision making. And he hands me this newspaper and he says, "Look, we're famous." And the headline of that newspaper, the headline said ancestry.com. And in that article showed pictures that I was very familiar with, my grandparents, great aunts and uncles, but it was actually a murder cover up. And it was in a tabloid magazine, and it exposed all of this mental health and brain health, genetic things that ran in my family. And I remember having every emotion except gratitude in that moment. But what it did was it lit a fire in me. And I determined, this is not going to be my destiny. It was a story I wouldn't proudly share with people, but I realized there was a lot of shame in my family because of that. But what it really unveiled was there is a history of Huntington's disease in my family, which is a genetic brain disorder. A lot of relatives have had it. And I lost my father, my sister to it. And it really lit a fire in me to start taking care of my brain and to start educating other people. Up until that point, I was in leadership development, working with that, but it really transitioned and helping me realize that, leadership isn't everything. Attitude isn't everything if your brain is not right. And so I really started digging into the importance of the brain with decision making, with our goals. It's tied to, our relationships, our joy. And I just started seeing things with a brand new lens and realizing that brain health is mental health. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So just really allowing myself to think a little differently about thoughts, about things, just really changed the trajectory of my career and how I can support other people through some of the things that they were struggling with, whether it was stress management, burnout, or even creating a space to make some difficult decisions.
Wow. So make sure I understand. So you're saying that there was people in your family in the past that didn't get brain health straight, and that led to tragedy and all kinds of stuff, huh?
Yes, just because there is now science showing that there's a brain and behavior connection that we didn't know about before. And it just blew my mind how so many things can be the trigger for anxiety and depression. Even things like untreated Lyme's disease can sometimes mask itself as schizophrenia. So it really just shook my world. And I just began to see things with a new lens and realized there's a lot I never even thought of or even knew that is even impacting my habits and my thoughts. and that we all have the ability to examine and make even subtle changes to improve the functioning of our brain that in turn can help, the results that we're wanting to get.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's exciting that you figured that out right on your own to impact you, impact your family. But then, what caused you to kind of take that step where you said, I need to teach this to other people?
Yes. So, about the same time as that conversation at that restaurant, and I just had this awareness. I was struggling with my own brain health, and I was really worried about the possibility of me having Huntington's disease. So that led to a lot of testing. Thankfully, I don't have the genetic mutation, but what they found through scans and patterning in my brain was that I had 3 mild injuries. And at the time, I was struggling, with anxiety, panic attacks, mood. I was also really struggling with my memory. And I didn't realize that things that happened a long time ago, over time, I could start to have symptoms that really matched with what I was experiencing. And so through my own brain rehabilitation and seeing how simple things like really increasing your hydration, like things that we already know how to do, but we say we're going to do it and don't. But things like that can boost blood flow to the thinking part of our brain. And, even natural supplements, the foods that we eat are super important for the health of our brain.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I know you mentioned several things there, but let's say somebody is just getting started, right? They're, all right, I'm going to do one step at a time. I guess what are the first one or two things that they could concrete do today to make their brain health?
Wow. That's going to be hard to narrow down, but I will say that if you can get your sleep right, a lot of things will naturally get better too.
Okay.
And that's a tough one just because there's so many Americans today that are sleep deprived, suffering some, different sleep disorders. There's so many things that impact sleep. And what I've learned is it's most often what you do during the day that impacts your sleep. It's not just during, the nighttime hours. And so I think really examining, and this isn't a quick, easy step, just because it could be a process to figure out, but really looking at your caffeine intake. Are you drinking it all day, or you just keep eating it in the morning? Just because even little things like that can keep us awake at night. And also with the stress, a lot of people compound stress thinking they should have better sleep, or when they wake up, they're really frustrated. That actually makes it worse. But really coming terms, and even when we wake up in the middle of the night, just recognize, okay, we actually wake up when we change sleep cycles during the night. There's this period of time we kind of go into a lighter sleep. So when we find ourselves asleep, just recognize, okay, this is natural, because sometimes when we wake up frustrated, then that impacts the rest of the night. Also, just really focusing on getting the right daylight. They say when you first wake up, spend 10 to 20 minutes in the morning, and that helps your brain build up natural melatonin, which helps you sleep at night. So I would say start examining your sleep.
Okay.
Can I share a second thing?
Sure.
Okay. There is a simple free online assessment called brainhealthassessment.com, brainhealthassessment.com. That will help you understand what your brain type is. And that will give you recommendations based on how you answered. And just to give you a very quick overview, there's 5 main brain types that they found through imaging. And these are patterns in the brain. And I'll share just a couple of one with you. The first, type 1 is typically the one that most people want, and that's a balanced brain type. But what that really means is that there's symmetric and there's even blood flow and activity in all the key areas. And, people who have a balanced brain type tend to be more cognitively flexible. They tend to have better sleep. They tend to rebound. They still have bad days, but they tend to rebound much more quickly, tend to be more resilient. And then there's types like the spontaneous brain type. Those are, your creative out of the box thinkers. They're wonderful. They come up with amazing ideas. Often they tend to be a little too impulsive, or they tend to have too much activity in some parts of the brain. And there's certain things to support that. And then there's the persistent brain type, which they tend to hold on to things, including, grapes and grudges. They tend to be less cognitively flexible. They have a hard time moving from thought to thought. And then there's a sensitive brain type. I'm a combination of three different ones. So when we take the assessment, it'll tell you. But those are the ones that are deep, feeling, empathetic. But knowing ourselves and knowing how we're showing up or even responding in different situations will give us, the knowledge and the power to know how we can support our decisions, our thinking, whether we're having negative thoughts, call them automatic negative thoughts or ants. It just helps us know that we're all unique and we're all like with no two fingerprints alike, and they've never found two brain types alike. But when we can find patterns in ourselves, then some of the problem areas, we know how to approach them a little bit differently.
Okay. That makes sense. Wow, that's amazing. I think it's pretty cool that you are a brain health coach, and the reason why it makes so much sense because how much money do we spend going to the gym, working on our body and taking pills and working on our figure, but our most important muscle is our brain. But we don't go to the brain gym, right? And it sounds like that's what you've kind of figured out is that people have to work that muscle as well.
Yes. And the amazing thing, Matt, is through my training, like the brain is obviously a physical organ, but when you look at it in a holistic way, our brain is also involved in everything we do. It's involved in our social circles. It's involved in, how we show up spiritually or what, gives us meaning and purpose in life. It shows up in our own psychology and our mindset. So it's, a physical organ, but when we look at it holistically, it drives everything that we do.
Yeah. Well, now, Barbara, before I forget, what is the best way for someone listening that's like, man, she's like, she knows me. It's almost like where she's talking to me directly. I need to work, memory. I need to work on brain health. How's the best way for people to interact with you and follow you and be able to utilize some of your resources?
Absolutely. So a couple of different ways. I can hop on my website, discovernextstep.com. And if they're on LinkedIn, I prefer LinkedIn over other, social platforms, and it would be under Barbara Gustavson.
Okay.
You can reach out to me there as well.
Perfect. That's great. And, it sounds like your whole role is to relieve stress and make people to feel more comfortable and happy, et cetera. And we found in our world that it's really hard for people to really relax and have less stress if they're worried about finances and money and all these different things. So that's what I love about what you do. It's just a great compliment to what we do as far as we can help people. Our biggest thing we hear from our clients is, I can finally just relax and have a good night's sleep. Because there's so many people that stay up late at night worrying about their money and it's property tax time. And they just got a bill about their insurance. And now they need medicine. And oh my gosh, now the kids want to go on vacation. And where's that money going to come from? So what we do is we just allow seniors to use a small percentage of their equity to pay for essentials. Then if that's covered, they can pay for taxes and bills and they can go on trips. They can do whatever they want. But it's the new and improved reverse mortgage where they still own their house, can still sell their house, still give their home to their kids, but they're not stuck with a huge monthly payment. So it's basically just a flexible mortgage. But that's the details. But the overall arching theme is, wow, I can finally relax. I'm not worried about money anymore. And then they need to go talk to you and they can go fix all the problems in their brain that money has caused them over the years. And we'll put two peas in a pod.
What I really appreciate what you shared about that. And I do this for myself. I have my own care team or support system. I have people in my life that come alongside me to support me. I have my health professionals. I have my therapist.
Yeah.
I have my own coach. I feel like if I'm growing. I need to hold my feet to the fire. I have my own financial person. And honestly, at the beginning, it was hard for me to ask for help. Not because I didn't want it. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know how to articulate even, how to navigate that. And it really took me just to, seek guidance and say, I'm not sure what it is that I need. I just need help.
Sure.
But to this day, I have the support. And I tell people, having the support of one person makes the journey lighter. And you don't have to go through these, difficult transitions alone. And the more people that can support us, it's like we borrow from other people's brains. We have our own, but we collectively, we can have more wisdom together.
That's awesome. Yep. What's the phrase? It takes a village, right?
Yes.
It takes a village. Well, we're so happy to have you as part of our village and have you the opportunity to get to know you so you can help the people we know have healthier brains. So, Barbara, we really appreciate this time. Is there anything that you'd like to share that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
A couple years back, one of my mentors shared with me, and it just has never left my brain. But he was a strong believer in creating a life plan. And when he sat down to do it, he asked himself a question, or he shared a statement. It's not how many years I have left, but how many good years do I want to have? Just because we tend to look at the lifespan, like how long do we want to live? But how many good years do you really think you have? And do you think you want? And that's one of those kind of questions that just, you have to reflect. And it's like, okay, is what I'm doing getting me those good years?
Wow. Wow. Very well said. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for all you do for these folks. I mean, it is not well known, but very well needed. And I appreciate who you are and what you're doing.
Thanks so much. It's been an honor to be here.
Yep. And thank you for watching the Serving Seniors podcast, where I highlight these awesome people like Barbara that help seniors not just survive, but thrive in retirement. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next episode. Talk to you soon. Hey, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, home of Retirement Mortgage Solutions. And we really do appreciate you checking out the Serving Seniors podcast today. Now, please go to the description down in the body of the podcast where you can subscribe to get future shows. Please click that notification button so you get notified when other shows drop. And also, if you can go to servingseniourspodcast.com, and we'd love to hear a comment about our show. We have a heart to serve seniors, and we have a heart to make sure seniors don't just survive retirement, don't just get by in retirement. We want to show seniors how to thrive in retirement. So if you know of anyone that's 55 and older that could use some extra cash flow, maybe the retirement's not going the way that they like, our retirement mortgage solutions are designed for folks, and depending on the state, they're either 55 or 62 and older, to make sure that they have that kind of retirement that they want. As long as they own a home and they're in a good equity position, there could be some solutions that they may not have thought about, or maybe they've thought of and they just didn't know how they work. That's what we do. So anyone in that age group that could use some mortgage advice, my team and I would love to be able to help them. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a great day.